Welcome everyone, and today we will talk about culture, how to give and receive feedback, and why is it important. And of course, we should start from me. I'm not a very kind of person who talking about myself, but this is the case where it makes sense. So my name is Sergei Panin. I am currently working as a senior environment artist in Housemarque Sony Studios. You may be familiar with Housemarque by Returnal, and right now we are working with Sony to create something awesome, and maybe you will hear about it in again NDA stuff. I can't say anything, so one day maybe you will see something. My education is mechanical engineering, so I was learning for engineering specialty for 6 years, and then I switched specialty into games development. I'm working in games already for 8 years, but my teaching experience is 13 years, because when I was in university, after university, when I was working as an engineer, I also have been doing a lot of educational stuff. So currently, I'm working with CGMA and Think Tank. I also have personal course and also personal pre-recorded courses, and I also doing regular feedbacks to the community. So I have some experience about talking, about feedback, teaching, education. I also have been collaborating also with some Finnish company here in Finland. So yeah, that's about me. I do not want to stop on it too long because we have much more interesting stuff to discuss. So first of all, I would like to ask you a very simple question. And you sadly already see the answer, but why we give or ask feedback? Because this is very important, because it's affecting what we're trying to receive from the feedback. Our goal from the feedback is to improve quality. It's not really important what quality. It can be quality of the game, it can be quality of the portfolio, it can be just increasing your knowledge level, but it's every time improving something. And when you asking or receiving feedback, remember that both sides are interested in better result. And usually toxic or negative feedback is coming from communication. It's not communicated properly. And I think the biggest example which we hear, especially in Eastern Europe culture of giving feedback, it's very negative. Like you done something and person saying, yeah, it's shit. The intention is still to help you. It can sound weird, right? Like somebody's so rude and he's trying to help you, but in reality it's just no culture of saying this thing correctly. It's still like, if you will try to summarize what when somebody trying to write something rude, it's in long story short, it's like, yeah, I do not like it, you should improve, and maybe if I would had vocabulary and experience, I could describe to you what you could improve, but because I do not have any kind of knowledge, I will just say it's bad. So long story short, we need to understand what is communication, how to communicate properly, and only in this case we can receive or give proper feedback. So let's talk about communication. So communication can be separated in different aspects. So when you are giving or receiving feedback, you need to have these points of person. So first of all, it's culture. Different cultures have different approach to tasks and problems and how they communicate them. We will talk about it in a second. So right now I will just say bullet points and then we'll continue. So then it's personal aspect. So when you're talking with a person, he can be stressed, demotivated, or overconfidence, something what I see very often, or lack of confidence. So there are a lot of personal aspects of the person aside of the culture. Culture is something wide, when personal aspect is something more about the person. Then knowledge level. You never know what person know and what you do not know. For you, maybe it's obvious. It's not obvious for another person, and the opposite. Maybe something is opposite for you, but not obvious for somebody who is giving feedback. As I said, miscommunication is a very big thing. Another thing is type of feedback, because I think it's very important. Because sometimes you're giving feedback to the XDev partner, and sometimes you're giving feedback to the student, and you cannot use the same kind approach to the feedback because the goal is different. And also language. I think it's very important everybody to understand that we all have very different language level and way of communicating. And of course, I already have some experience, but still some things for me to say it on English language can be tricky. Sometimes I do not know how to say it on my own language because words are very fragile. Like, you cannot be sure that what you are saying will be interpretation of your words will be correct, and it can be very, very easy miscommunicated. So when you're talking, my opinion regarding this one is better to show than to talk, because pictures, references, is reducing a chance of miscommunication. So let's talk about each individual aspect of this personality. And of course, let's talk about work culture.
Team, our accountant Sven was arrested for sending a work email after 6 p.m., which is insane. To think we were working with such a sick person. Brian, did you see my message from last night? Sorry, last night was my son's birthday, my anniversary, Christmas, and my dog gave birth to puppies. So, did you see it?
So yeah, it's very important to understand this aspect, that all of us has very different culture and how we work in this culture. So it's called culture map. And today I will be doing pretty a lot of references to management, because management is very close to education. And it's very important to understand that by our experience, a lot of things will be different. And even in Europe, it will be different. And in Eastern Europe, North Europe, Central Europe, or US, UK culture, and also Asian region. So as I said, it's called culture map. And it's separate. I would recommend to read about it a little bit more if you'll be interested. But I will go into this a little bit. So by this theory, you have communication and work culture in different aspects. For example, I will start from the bottom part, is scheduling. For example, currently I'm in Finland, and Finland very, very linear about time. What's mean about linear? It's about deadlines. And for example, in Finland, if a call planned to start at 10 o'clock, it will start at 10 o'clock. In a lot of cultures, it's not the same. Like if you, sorry, right now will be a joke about Italy, based on person joking about Italy, okay? So they're saying like if it's called that call should be at 9, it will start at about 10, and maybe at 11 they will start. So again, I'm over exaggerating right now, but not everybody strict to the timing. And because of that, people will not be stricted about deadlines. And for example, you say that something should be done tomorrow, and you're waiting that it will be done tomorrow, but in some cases, it's not the case. Tomorrow, it doesn't mean tomorrow. I know, sounds crazy, but you need to understand that for some people, it's the opposite. You're requiring to do something like next tomorrow, and you're not doing this, and then another person is angry, and this can create a lot of issues. I will not go about all these aspects about cultural map, because for us, for educational purposes and feedback, the most important is confrontation and directive negative feedback, and maybe low context. So what is low context? What is low context, high context communication. So low context, it means that you are describing everything. And for example, high context, it means that a lot of things are not said, but they are mentioned. And this can be very big issue if you're giving feedback for somebody from Asia, or even for me, for example, giving some feedback to US students, because I'm working with US students. You need to describe a lot of your things much more detailed, which I would do maybe for another person, because context is important. So, and also you should not think that it's rude if somebody giving you much more communication and much more information than it's weighted. Low context developed in US not without reason. The reason why in US you have low context communication because there are a lot of people from different cultures, and it's the only way that you can be sure that the task will be understood properly. So I would say this is a little bit better. But for example, if for you in communication, high context is more familiar, be straight sometimes and communicate it more detailed. It's fine if you will describe some things. And as I said, another things is confrontation about agreeing in something. So there are cultures which are avoiding conflict a lot, and some cultures which are very confronting. For example, French culture, I have some, like, again, I will be based a little bit on some some official statistics and my experience, and I can say I'm feeling very easy and very easy for communication with people from France, because they are very direct and they do not be afraid to be confrontational, and because of that I can receive a little bit feedback more. Even somebody can describe it as a negative feedback. But you need to understand it's not negative feedback. It's just a way of communicating. So, for example, as you see in this culture map, it's very important to understand in which group, in which culture you're working, and also who is giving you some feedback. For example, I have been doing feedback a lot to Eastern Europe, and I can say Nordic culture of giving feedback completely opposite. So you need to tune down a little bit. For example, like in Eastern Europe, like, yeah, this work is shit, just rework it. That's the feedback which you can receive for 90% of the time, and it's bad. So how you can improve this? So describe everything, do not be negative, but give a lot of information. Do not be afraid to go like in confrontation in some cases, because it's fine. People are ready for this. But for example, if you're in more Asian region, you should be prepared that communicating will be a little bit different. And this is affecting students. Why I'm showing this because it can be feeling I'm going into management too much. But what I'm trying to say, feedback, it's not only giving feedback to a student, it's also giving feedback to a colleague. It also feedback going to XDev partner. And for example, it's very common right now in Europe that you have XDev partners in US or in Asia, and you need to understand how to easily communicate. And understanding of culture map is very important. Okay, so about this topic, let's go to personal moments. And that happiness is successfully closing the elevator door before anyone else can get in. And what does it mean? That we have introverts and extroverts, and we have formal and informal way of communicating with people. This is again coming from management, and it's called self-awareness, what kind of manager you are. And some people, again, they can be very different, and you also need to understand that other persons also different. So I'm a good example. I'm very controller type of person. I'm not very formal, but I definitely more on dominant side. I'm giving a lot of information, and I'm definitely not informal. I'm more on formal side. And I do not, because what missed in this picture, it's empathy. So for some people, human touch is very important. And if you are not given this informal touch, empathy touch to the feedback, it will feel very bad. So good example, and I think all of you had this kind of cases that you're talking with somebody with feedback, and this person giving you a lot of good information, but he's just like bashing you with facts, and you can do better this, you can do better this, you can do better this, you can do better this. I don't know how you, but a lot of people are feeling very bad after that, because it was never mentioned that their work is good. And this is very crucial. And it's not crucial to all the persons, because for some persons, it's completely not important. And again, it's coming from understanding personality with whom you are working. Because for some people, as I said, it's really important. And you need, if you want to give good feedback, you need to understand that some people need a little bit more positive things, because otherwise they will be overwhelmed with negative parts, or it's not even negative, it's just about critical part. And other persons, they do not want to hear support. They want only facts. And without understanding with whom you're working, you cannot do it. But again, by talking with persons, two negatives make one positive. There are even like recommendation about it, that it's better to give, for example, a good balance. So for example, for every 3 negatives, give something one positive. Because in this case, when you're talking and giving some information, you can kind of balance. So yeah, this is a good joke, but not without reason. So, and another very important topic is about junior and senior artists and overall level of experience. So all artists can have different knowledge in art and tech, because all of us has different backgrounds. Some of us coming from companies who has a lot of technical experiences. Some have very artistic experiences. So you never know until you start working. So it's going a little bit to low context discussion, that it's better to give more information, because in this case you can be sure that you will not miss a point. So it is very I had a situation that artist was giving a feedback to a junior artist about very artistic things, for example, like camera framing, and that like if you will be shooting it like that with this kind of camera transition, it will create in like more smooth transition and it's artistically feeling better. But the person not even sure about software, the artist do not know how to do some basic things, and he's not ready to listen for this feedback about very artistic things. And you think that maybe you are helping this person by giving this kind of feedback, but in reality you are not, because person will be very overwhelmed with amount of knowledge and things which he or she or them do not understand. So when you're giving feedback, remember that you need to be sure that it's matching the goals of the person. So when you start, right, before like doing any suggestions, any kind of feedback, to understand, try to understand what the person knows or do not know, because you can possibly give in very valid feedback, very important feedback, but it will be completely out of the window because it's just not fitting. And I really think that junior artists can receive feedback better from senior artists than from art director, because art director giving feedback to seniors, and when art director giving feedback to juniors, it can be very big mismatch with pretty big chance. So just some ideas for you. And also I have been telling you about type of feedback. So this is a little bit more professional. You need to understand what kind of feedback you are giving. Is it group feedback? Because for example, with student, and you also need to adjust your feedback based with whom you're working. So for example, I have a group of students and my goal usually is sharing of knowledge. So I'm trying to give as much knowledge as possible, and also very wide topics, because in this case, I'm giving information, and person can contact me, and we can invest more time in specific topic, person by person. Because so sadly, in group feedback, you cannot work with each individual person. So if you're working with group, try to share more knowledge. If you are giving feedback to a college, to a friend, remember you are asked to help, and sometimes feedback to a colleague, you're doing this good, man, this is cool, is more than enough. Like, if you want to start like, yeah, you can do better this, you can do better this, you can do better this, yes, you can. But sometimes it's not the goal. Sometimes you just need to support person, and it's already good. Yes, maybe your friend will ask you, but can you like what you really do not like? Can you, in this case, another story. But sometimes, because people sometimes forget, okay, not people, I forget to say that you done something good. And I remind myself to say that something is done good. And usually, because I'm asked for feedback, I'm giving a lot of comments, and I understand that it can overwhelm person, especially friends. So yeah, friends do not ask me for feedback. They know like they should be prepared for something. Okay, so feedback to the performer. So what does it mean? That sometimes you have XDev partner, sometimes you have outsource. And in this case, feedback should be very straight. Mention what is good, what is not bad. Try to be very, very straight, low context as much as possible, because the goal is get result. So from my experience working with XDev, it can be very tricky to give them freedom in some things, because they do not know a lot of things. So this giving feedback to XDev very hard, because they do not know even a half of what you are doing, your reasoning, and you cannot describe it. So try to be very straight with them, because usually it helps for both parties. And also supervising and mentoring. In this case, your goal is personal development. And this again going a little bit to management side, and you need to read about coaching. And for example, in supervising and mentoring, you need to learn. Sometimes you do not need to give feedback. Sometimes your feedback, I have seen an article. I give you the article, check it. So you need to work not only. You do not need to fight with fires. You need to increase knowledgement of the person, and you need to work on the person. And this is very important, especially working with junior artists or mentoring someone. Like, you need to learn them not to do tasks. You need to learn them flow, let's call it this way. Okay, so let's try sum up the communication part. You can't win. In any situation, you will have problems with good and bad moments, because I just showed you, persons are different, culture is different. It's so huge chance that something will be misunderstood. So my short recommendation, try not to be too formal, but be straight. Describe why you think something is better to improve or it doesn't work. So never say it doesn't work, it's bad. Try to describe it does not work because blah, 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 blah. Or let's try to rework this because this is not work, and you have a reasoning. Even if it's obvious for you, try to describe why you think it's better to do it this way. Ask questions, be open to communication, never say like rework it. No, like, do you have any questions? Like, do you think we can improve it this? So also motivate people, do not only demand. And one of the good opportunity to motivate people is ask them, like, how do you think how we can improve it? Do you want to improve it? So do not demand like, yeah, rework this, rework this, rework this. It's not a good feedback. From the XDev partner, discussable. As I said, sometimes it's exceptions, but in all other cases, it's not good. And also, especially working even with colleagues and even with XDev partners, give people space to do mistakes. And not only to give mistakes, but also for experimenting. Maybe you're doing something for 10 years and it works for you and you think it's right. But if you see something is interesting, what you haven't done, Like, give person opportunity to try. You should every time, even in feedback, give space to do mistakes, because from mistakes we learn. And if you're giving feedback which fixing every problem for the person, it's not a good feedback, because part of the flow, part of the learning, part of the work process, it's doing mistakes and learning from these mistakes, because maybe you will learn something. Okay, how to structure feedback. And before going into structure feedback, do we want to answer questions now, or we want to answer all the questions later? I'm a little bit adding more my knowledge. My personal opinion about feedback, it should be separated in objective and subjective. And I every time start from the objective part, like references, technical aspect, and basic art principles, because this is almost like rules. And then is going to subjective, which is my personal feeling or my experience. So references, like, this is crazy. I do not believe that in 2024, almost 2025, we're still talk about this, but I still have the issue, like person asking a feedback and do not give a reference. And this is crazy because it's very important that good feedback cannot be done without references, because I do not know what is your goal. You need to describe your goal, because not every time the fancy picture is your goal. Maybe you're learning something, maybe you're copying a style, maybe you're developing new skills. Everything is part of the goal. And until I will see the references, what you was trying to achieve, I cannot understand have you done it or not. And I think it's some people also forget about it. Not every work for feedback is a work for hundreds of likes on ArtStation or Instagram or something like that, right? The goal is very important, because if person is learning something, feedback should be about this aspect of learning something and not about doing fancy picture. Also, as I said before, and I'll repeat myself, even repeat more times, positive feedback is important. If person succeeded in something, mention it. And references also help to do visualization, what was the goal. And if you remember what we have been discussing about talks and words, this can be miscommunicated, and until I see pictures, I cannot understand what you really want, because you can say, I want to do Dishonored style, and you say, okay, let me show the picture, and then the person showing something like Arcane, and yeah, technically it's something close, but it's not the same. Colors will be different, approach will be different. Yes, a lot of things are similar, but not similar. And also people are mentioning stylization. There are so many stylization, like is that I'm trying to do a stylized scene does not give me any info to give you feedback, because stylization again can be very different. So remember about it. So, and as I said, on this point, it's very good to start from the questions. What you are trying to achieve, what is the stage, like is it your first pass, second pass, these kinds of things, and do you have any concerns? Overall, I recommend to ask questions from persons, and this is also going from coaching. Questions are very powerful tool, and this is going to grow model. So grow model is goal, relative, options, way forward. Again, it's coming from coaching, and this is very powerful tool which I started to use in, as I said, in mentoring a lot. And when you are talking about with student, especially with one-on-ones, like one-on-one, in my opinion, is the best feedback, because you are really working with persons, and you cannot use this approach in groups, sadly, in full power. But sometimes best feedback is asking questions, like what was your goal, what you have been trying to achieve, reality, what you have right now, why the scene looking this way, and try to also ask open questions, because when person answer these questions, you understand a way of thinking. And because if you are just asking questions like, have you done it? Yes. Have you done it? Yes. Like it's not giving you any info. You do not understand how the person think. So if you want to understand how person thinks and how you can help him, you need to see how that person thinks. And then, like, from reality, you're moving to options, like how we can improve it, how we can improve composition. Are you happy with current color choice or with current design? What you do not like in the current design? How we can improve it? Do you have checked any other? Well, this is not a good questions, but I think you get what I'm going. Like, ask questions and then way forward, what action points, how you're planning to do this, is everything clear for you, and how I can support you in this way, because as I said, sometimes the questions is the most powerful tool of feedback. Okay, going to action. Ask opinion of the person before giving any feedback. This is very, very important, and this is crazy because sometimes you see the picture. Again, I have seen a lot of feedback. I was given a lot of feedback. I was receiving a lot of feedback. Sometimes you see a person like giving feedback and he's like instantly like, yeah, this is not good. This is not good, that you can try to improve. But sometimes it's better to first to ask question like, what you have done good, what you have succeeded in the scene. Like, it's very, very powerful tool in feedback. Just start asking questions, because if the person see that something in the artwork is not very powerful or not, and he's planning to improve it, this is great. Like, you do not need to spend your power. It's already, and you can say, yes, that's a great idea. And like, you see, from negative feedback, like this is not good, we're going, oh, you see that this moment can be improved and you know how to improve it. That's great. So you see how we change from negative approach to positive approach. Give structured feedback, positive and negative. Be straight with feedback. It's pretty important, but do not overwhelm person, as I said. Try not to give feedback without any reason why something should be done, and provide overpaint or references. That's a little bit going to reasoning, like, yeah, overpaints are very powerful tool. I'm using a lot of overpainting and I'm giving references. So Pinterest, Google searches. I also have references packs. They're every time near me. Also because I'm working mostly in realistic style. And if you do not if you don't know how something should be done, can it be improved? References is a question. And this is a small remark which I have here, that it's fine not to mention everything or give space to the mistakes. I mentioned this already and I will repeat myself. Do not try to give feedback about everything, because if you have regular work with person, it's better to give very limited amount of feedback, because if you will give person 15 tasks and person will do only 5 of them, yeah, what's the result? What good in this? First of all, is when you have 15 areas to improve, it's very easy to get lost from what I should start. It's much harder to create a prioritization of this feedback. So I think it's better to mention the most critical things and then mention like, this is nice to have. Maybe I will mention some things later if I see they're not really crucial right now. Because if person going to you and only receive like 1 hour of negative thing, it's very overwhelming. Not a lot of persons are ready for this. Even persons who are saying that they're ready for this, in reality they are not. Give time person to respond to the feedback and ask questions. Good feedback is dialogue. It's very hard to build good feedback only one way. You need to ask questions, like mostly why person done some actions, why it's done this way, why it's not done another way, and you can discuss it. When you have said all your feedback, try to sum up what should be done. So usually my feedback session can be going like for 40 minutes, we're talking, but then in last 5-10 minutes, I will be, okay, let's sum up what we just discussed. And you're repeating each individual moment, very short, but it's helped to understand, okay, so our action point, boom, 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 boom. And after that, mentioned prioritization. Usually from my work, we have prioritization. From my experience, it's like high, medium, low, and nice to have. So nice to have, it's something like what you really want to do, but you will never have a time to do. High, it's affecting image dramatically, should be done very, very soon. Medium, almost the same, and like low priority, almost, it will be very, very, very last action. Okay, so what is structured feedback? And I think this may be the most important one. This is how I'm building my own feedback during like working with people. So first, as I said, it's reference check. What you're trying to achieve, why you have done this way, what is missing from references. So I do not understand how you can have, as I said, feedback without checking references, because I do not understand what you want. So references is responsibility of both parties, like of student and mentor. And you open the references, you're discussing, and then only after that you can start check picture. And then I prefer to check technical part. At work, you're creating document guideline, what should be checked. Here I'm mentioning the most common things, like I'm checking different color passes, texture sizes and format, because this is very common mistakes. Topology, I do not really care about topology in a lot of cases, but I still think it's nice to check it, because you never can be sure that anything is not too crazy. Basic lighting setup, because if you have purple sky, it's better to understand it before giving any artistic feedback. And then you're checking other settings, expensive shaders, nanite, checking, and as I said, you're with time building this list of what you're checking at work, because from studio to studio this can be a little bit different. For example, at work maybe I will be checking LODs. With nanite I'm not checking LODs, because why I should care. Collisions, really critical, but for personal art projects we are not really checking collisions. If you are checking this at work, it should be in guideline. From that, I'm going to basic art check. And basic art check is something very discussable, I agree. But my opinion is that composition of the shot, I recommend to have a clear camera from the start. And if we are doing work to portfolio, which I'm doing a lot with my students, if shot is not clear to read, if composition is wrong, everything doesn't matter. So composition, it's something what should be working from the start. Then color and light, because if it will be too dark, if it will be overexposed, if the lighting is broken, it's make no sense to discuss it again, because everything is not working correctly. Design of the elements, it's something what I'm checking as a basic pass, because design is something what very easy to mess up, especially if you're doing something really artistic, like maybe God of War style, or when it's like fantasy, or when it's not really based on reality, when you have more concept art involved. And you, especially if you start doing your own concept art, you need to check basic design principles. And design principles is something what you can have not only as a personal taste. There are a lot of personal taste in design, but still you have core design principles which you can check during work. And then proportion. Proportion of the elements, it's something what can be checked as a basic art principle. Usually I'm checking bevel sizes, dimensions between elements, for example, brick sizes, plank sizes. Also, it's a little bit affecting textile density. By the way, this I should add in a technical check, textile density. I forgot. But sorry, going back to the art check, like you're checking proportions, because a lot of artists are doing proportions wrong. And this is really, really crucial if you're working realistic style. One of the biggest mistakes which I see people are doing bevels for baking when you're not baking. Like they're doing nanite bevels and they're like very cartoony and they're not looking realistic because you're not doing realistic bevels. So proportions of the elements is really something what you can check based on the reference. And then personal taste check, because that's why you asking my feedback, right? So I checked like this basic stuff, and then it's becoming like my personal taste. I'm saying my opinion, and this is example. Like we can make this wood beam a little bit better. we can use more interesting wood texture and more polygons on the shape. Also, shader may have some work, and we can some additional blending for dirt to make it more realistic, like on the reference. What do you think about it? So you see, I'm mentioning not what I mentioned before, so it's more artistic, but I'm still, like, first of all, asking opinion. I'm trying to work with person. I'm trying to add reasoning why I'm recommending to improve the shader. And from this point, we can start a dialogue to understand how to improve it. So, demo time. Demo will be not very long, but I just wanted to show like basic stuff when I'm doing my art check. Unreal, please start working. I will be very happy. Okay. So this is scene on which I'm working on, so it's not really makes sense to give too much feedback about it, but I still wanted to use it as an example in my hotkeys. So first of all, I have hotkeys for checking base color and roughness, and also metalness. This is something like what I'm opening the scene, I'm checking this from the start. You can have these hotkeys in Unreal in editor settings. Just write like base color pass and metalness pass and roughness pass, and I'm checking that they're correct. Give me a second. I will close Photoshop because it can cause so many graphical overload. And also we can use Ctrl R to raise the... Come on, Unreal, you can do it. No. Okay. For us, it's fine. So, as I said, first I'm checking base color, roughness, metalness, because very common what I see here, I see tone of gray metallic, I'm opening roughness, I see something like that, like for example, no assigned material, or material is white. Do I have white material? No, this is overall like fine roughness, not great, but maybe I see something like that and can say, okay, is this a flat rough? Yes, this is completely a wrong roughness because this is not realistic roughness in any way. So I can mention, okay, let's talk about this. Why you done this roughness this way? Because this is not how it should be done from a mini PBR perspective, right? And we can start talking about it. Then, so we checked, for example, this one. I also recommend, from my experience, checking like nanite. So I'm switching to triangles. Of course, I'm not doing this every time, but I very often see that like seeing, for example, overuse nanite or not using nanite. So I'm checking like this technical check. And as I said, it's better to have it in a list, especially if you're working with colleague or XDev partner. Also, collisions, same stuff. I'm checking, okay, this is looking fine. This is not looking fine. And why it's like movable. And you start checking collisions at work, for example. And also what I'm checking for another example of its distance field. This is something what for this I do not have hotkey, but I also prefer to check distance field during work because you see, for example, here a little bit strange shading, so it's better. It doesn't mean that it's every time should be changed, but it's better to understand it because if you will not have your basic technical setup correct, it is possible that then you will start doing very strange recommendations. So you need to be sure that your base, your foundation during feedback is fine. As I said, also, I'm trying to check that lighting is neutral. Overall, when I'm working, I recommend to work with neutral lighting. So, because again, and also color gradient should be neutral for a long time, in my opinion. Because if we have this, right, that we have like purple shadows, and we start talking about, yeah, color maybe in the picture a little bit too purple, right? It's not really make sense to talk about textures if you do not understand what's the reason for this light. So I prefer to check that lighting is correct. One of the most common things that is exposure is not correct. This is one of the most common things, like, yeah, that exposure is not locked and all the lighting values are completely wrong. So this is something what like I instantly check in. Okay, this is locked exposure, directional light, you're using it this way. Okay, we can talk about this. So on the night check, this one checked, then we're going to composition shots and everything like that. So as I said, for example, this is going to a little bit more basic art principles. So I'm using a cinematic viewport and I'm using grid, so I can understand, okay, grid is like that, it's fine. Is it really good composition? Not really, because we see that it's very straight, this part is cluttered. So I can say, okay, if you want to use this as your shot composition, currently it's not very good because your focal point is not really visible. So do really sure that you want to use this composition as your final. So this command should be set pretty early. I overall recommend to have your shots pretty early during any personal work, because it helps you to understand scope of work. Because you have this shot, because, for example, I'm working on the whole city right now. I understand that I will never finish the whole city. It's just impossible with the time frame which I have. So I have these zones on which I'm focusing. And for this zone, it's important to have nice, readable composition. If composition is not readable for this shot, it just not makes sense to do all other stuff. Also, very easy hotkey. I do not know, can you have it on Mac or not, but on Windows, you need to go to color filters and activate it. If you are using Control Windows C, you will have your screen in grayscale, and grayscale is very powerful tool to check. Let me write color filter. So this tool allows a shortcut to toggle filter on and off. And when I'm pressing Control Windows C, my screen becomes black and white, and this is almost like taking a picture to black and white, and you can check the picture in dimensions. Is it readable? Is it not? This is, again, powerful tool, strongly recommended, because with color, in one moment, it's very hard to read the scene and understand what's happening. You're going to grayscale values, and you can, oh, okay, this is very grayscale-ish, it's not really readable, I can understand what's happening. As I said, also texture formats. Something what I see as a mistake very often, and also, as I said, it's related to texel density. So we're checking. Okay, is this done, for example, like 4K, compression is fine. Then we're going to my favorite things, that's like, okay, beams, sRGB off. Please, when you're packing your textures, please do not forget about checking sRGB, please. I beg you. Why everybody? We have Unreal for 10 years and everybody's still doing this mistake. So check the textures. I still recommend to do it every time. You cannot be sure that something is not wrong. I had so many issues that I was fixing PNGs in Unreal and 16-bit images, and you're trying to give feedback, right? You're trying to understand, you see something is wrong and you cannot understand. So that's why I'm check technical part first, and only after that I start going to this artistic. So, and from this moment, I can start thinking about, okay, let's start thinking about more artistic part of the feedback. And I check, for example, base color, and like, yeah, like, why this texture is currently so flat, right? So why is there no blending here? If it's like, why it's using same base color? So this is a little bit coming from experience and personal taste, and that's why I will be mentioning this thing very late. Also, this, for example, this is example of feedback which I'll say, like, as a technical, baking light into textures. Yeah, do not do this. So I can instantly say, yeah, this is not good. It's funny, I will go after our live session, I will go and I will add additional marks to what you should not do. And for example, baking light into textures, do not do this, it's not very good. Also, for example, I'm checking and see, okay, this is curvature, can look a little bit cartoony, it's fine. So you see, like, in one moment it will be from your experience, it will be a list which you check, and when you checked everything, you can start saying, yeah, let's do nice blending here. Right now, this blending is not really good. So, and on another hand, do not forget to mention good moments. For example, yeah, overall, this place already feeling pretty cool. For current stage, which is not even alpha, there are a lot of cool blending happening. I feel it's the mood of the scene. So, why I recommend to mention good moments also, especially working with junior artists, because when you're a junior artist, you do not know how it should look like. You do not know, is it fine for current stage? Because when you start working with stylable textures or with new engine, I can say when I was working with new engine, it was the same. You don't have final lighting, you don't have final dressing, you just look on your scene and it's looking bad. Like it's really looking bad when it's just done with stylable textures. And you need to mention good moments, that composition is strong, it works, it's fine. For current stage, it's looking good. For example, is it looking good? As a final image, no. But as a scene for a current stage, when my whole town is just done of the same building, like, of course it's looking fine, because it's even more than fine. So it's very important to remember stage and what I was trying to achieve on the current stage. And yeah, also what I do, and of course I'm doing a lot of screenshots. I'm using there are a lot of software. I'm using Snapshot, I think it's called. Lightshot or Snapshot, not really matters. But what I like about it is that I can do this. So I'm like painting. Even like this can be pretty nice. And then when I'm working with students, I'm trying in one moment to write this kind of like HML, nice to have. I already mentioned this. And then I'm using copy of this one and then sending into Discord as a personal message to a person, because it helps. Because yes, usually you have recording what had been discussed, but I still think it's better to send an image to a person that like, okay, let's work on this one. And you have this picture. And when I'm working on the feedback, I'm just taking this picture, placing it on the second screen in my Power file, and I can proceed with this one. And of course, well, this is obvious, like assignments of the materials, naming conventions, all this kind of stuff. This is also in technical check. I can improve it. Yeah, I will go back to it. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover with some examples. So checking the cameras, checking the composition of the cameras, checking the values, checking the lighting, and checking the contrast of the image by using grayscale contrast. Okay, so how to receive feedback. This will be kind of short, but still wanted to discuss it. So of course, the best reaction is anger. You should be angry, or maybe you're sad. It's fine. How this beautiful cartoon is learning us. All emotions are fine. It's part of you. And this is going to another management topic, which called fixed mindset, growth mindset. So this is a little bit coming from your experience, how you're reacting to feedback. And it's becoming very hard when definitely anger. Yeah, it's completely fine. I'm also can be very angry. So you have this in fixed and growth mindset, how people react to feedback. And yeah, if person has this mentality that I'm not very smart, or I do not want feedback because I'm avoiding mistakes, I know the best, I'm have no motivation after feedback, it's very hard. So this is a little bit on you. When you're going to feedback, try to be open. And I know it's hard. Nobody, as I said at start, even when you hear rude feedback, it's only words to make your work better. Nobody wants to offend yourself personally. Usually, I cannot say for all people in the internet. Some people are lame, but mostly people trying to give you something to make it good or better. So I have a list of recommendations from myself about feedback. So first of all, feedback is just opinion of one person, and it's just recommendation. So yeah, well, in my opinion, feedback. I'm asking feedback from a lot of people, and I'm not feeling obligated to follow all of this feedback. I just want to hear their opinion, and it's my choice to listen or not to listen to this opinion, and I think this is completely fine. I think when you're a student, you should be a little bit more careful about feedback, because you can be into this trap. But when you're more like professional, you need to learn what to listen, what not to listen. Ask questions. Like I was talking for 1 hour you about cultural differences, word differences, personal differences, and sometimes when somebody is bombarding you with a lot of critique, it's not because your work is bad, but mostly because these people are not really, do not have high level of empathy, and they just they're helping you their own way. And it can be feeling very bad for you, and I don't think it's a good feedback. But it's very possible that this person is professional and really giving you good advices. So I know it's not feeling nice, but feel free to ask person like, do you think I done something? What do you think it's good in this location or in my work? Or so, like, try to communicate, ask questions, because usually, as I said, this person bombarding you with so many information because it's their way to help you, and not because they think you're like done something so bad. It's like bad. I think the only bad art it's when you cannot say anything at all. Because yeah, I don't think overall like bad art is corrective term. I think art is working their purpose, and sometimes art should not be shiny. Sometimes it should be neutral because other things are shiny. Mistakes are only way to grow. So if you're doing mistakes, do not feel guilty that like it's completely fine. Like we're not doctors and our mistakes are not affecting lives. So if you are doing mistakes, it's only your opportunity to grow and do mistakes, and this helps. Because if you're doing mistakes, it means that you can learn something and you can receive feedback. It's great. Like, do not be afraid of doing mistakes. Listen to comments, and yeah, it's completely fine. And also fine to be angry. It's first reaction to any feedback. Very common. And if you're feeling angry, I'm feeling angry, just be silent for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, just listen. Feel free to disagree. Live with this emotion, wait, and then you can, okay, maybe he was right, or maybe he was wrong. Like, it's working for me. I can be angry on feedback, and especially when I hear this kind of feedback without any reasoning, it's making me really angry. But even with this feedback, I'm trying to work. I'm trying to understand why I'm angry, because this person is right, because sometimes it's the case. Just be fine with your emotion and understand this emotion. And be detached. What does it mean? It's not to be detached from your work. It's very interesting. I think I listened this in TED Talk, and it was about our personal relationship to our work. So when you do your work, you are very attached to it. You're personally very invested. And they done, I even remember now, I was trying to find this talk, but I could not. To give you a link, but it was about origami. So people was doing origami. One was doing it with books. So they had a book of origami, or instruction. I don't really remember. And another group didn't had almost anything. So they was just like doing. They have been showed how to do origami, and then that's all. So as you understand, group with books done origami much better because it was easy to check it. And group without book was doing origami much worse. And then it was offered to buy this origami miniature, how to call it, back. So you had money, you done origami, and it's opportunity. You can buy it if you want as a memory. And persons who done without book origami was more invested to buy their ugly origami because they spent more time on it. So for me, it was really interesting. I think this is a very changed my perspective of listening feedback. We as a human being were very invested, like how many hours we invested in work which we have been doing, and you can until you're detached from your work, you will be protecting your work even if it's bad, because only with very high level of proficiency and experience you can be detached and like, okay, I done not a good work. It's very hard. It's possible that you have problem with moral and you think great, Timothy. So yeah, you can be detached from your work only when you're professional with a lot of experience. It's very hard. But remember that when you hear feedback about your work, this is the reason why you're angry, because you're really attached to it. And you need to be open to be detached from this moment. I know it's hard, but just remember about it. And it's still, there are a lot of ways how you can improve it. Do not feel that it's personal. As we just discussed, check this model about growth mindset. It can be helpful for you.
Hey everyone, Timothy Dries here, senior environment artist myself and also the founder of Beyond Extend. I want to thank you for watching all the way through the end. And I also want to thank Sergei for his awesome knowledge on giving feedback, receiving feedback, and how to get better yourself and like dealing with feedback overall. It's been amazing to have you, Sergei. And we couldn't have done it without you. Like, this community is built on the people that want to share their knowledge, and it is built up by the people that are trying to learn as well. So thank you so much for helping us make Beyond Extend like a thriving place for learning and growth. If you want to join these artists, feel free to head on over to beyondextend.com where you can become a member. We also do things such as weekly work reviews, monthly portfolio reviews. You also get a 250-page full of tips and tricks on how to become an environment artist yourself in the games industry. And there's much more there as well. We're constantly updating what we offer. We really want to get you into the games industry. So yeah, all of the links to get all of that are in the description down below. Stay creative, and I hope to see you there. Bye-bye.